Okay, let me set the stage for you. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep. You are pondering life's choices, bad choices, good choices that you've made along the way, and you cannot sleep. So you decide to flip on the television. You are scrolling through the infomercials, and lo and behold, you click on one where somebody has on a wireless mic and they're screaming at the audience, getting everybody revved up and telling them that you too can learn how to own this beautiful yellow Lamborghini. You can live in this stunning house that they own. You can have this fabulous wife like they have. They can teach you how to do it by flipping property, and all you have to do is buy their $5,000 course at the end of the commercial. Have you ever seen those before? So have I. In fact, I saw one about 30 years ago. It's been about 30 years. And you know what? I was hooked. I never got that sort of out of my spirit. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how I was able to take that one little seed that was planted and turn that into, at 40 years old, paying off 2 houses, 2 mortgage-free houses, and no debt whatsoever. Basically being able to live the life that I want to live at 40 years old. And I'm going to tell you today exactly how I did that. Now, in this video, I am not trying to give you investment advice. I'm not telling you how to spend your money. I'm not telling you, I'm not selling any courses, none of that. All I'm doing is sharing with you what I did, and maybe you'll see something in yourself that you'll say, you know what, I can't do it exactly the way she did it, but I can do it in a similar way. That is what my channel is always about, is telling you what's accurate and true. My channel is for the purpose of education, and then you determine, I give you the pieces of the puzzle and you decide how you put them together. All right, so I want to let you know, if this is the first time we're meeting, I've been a real estate broker for over 25 years. So hopefully I'm coming to you from a place of knowledge and experience. And I can definitely tell you with this one, I have bought and sold and flipped and held over probably 45 properties through the years. So not only am I a real estate agent in that I represent buyers and sellers, but also I realized a long time ago that if you really want to play the game, if you really want to get yourself out of debt, if you really want true financial freedom, then you need to own property. Not always, there's more than one stream of income, of course, that you could and should have, but you need to own property. You need to own it so that you can actually make the real money on it. So that seed was planted when I was in my early 20s, 30 years ago. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not telling you what to do, how to do it, not selling anything, nothing like that. I'm giving you an example of how this worked for me, and maybe it can work for you. So that disclaimer, let's begin. All right, first and foremost, number one, I got a real estate license when I was 27, 28 years old. And I didn't just get a real estate license and do nothing. I read every single book that existed at the library because I could not afford to buy a book at Barnes & Noble. I read every single book at the library on sales, salesmanship, financing, home sales, everything, absolutely everything, because I was going to dive in and learn it all. I needed to understand the financing because at that age I didn't have the experience. So I read everything in those columns at the library that I could. And at that time, I couldn't keep the lights on. My husband was climbing the pole out back to turn the cable on so the kids could watch cartoons. We struggled, let me tell you. So I knew that I needed to do something. Now, if you're not somebody that wants to do any of that, you don't want to deal with any of that, then you have to find a real estate agent that you can form a relationship with who is going to tell you the ins and outs, but first make sure that they understand them, because the way that a person that's owned property before will look at something in terms of ROI is far different than your typical real estate agent. They're not calculating it the way that somebody who has bought, sold, held, flipped property would look at something. So make sure you have the right person who's going to give you the deals, because listen, I'm going to give you a little hint here. When I was doing this, which I don't do it anymore, you know, I'm almost completely divested at this point, but when I was, if there was a great deal out there, that deal went to me. I mean, that is just the truth. So make sure that person is maybe retired from the business of buying and selling themselves, because otherwise you're getting the scraps. All right, second, you've got to be in a situation, if you want to start the way that I did, with your kids either being homeschooled, so schools aren't a problem, or the kids have to be out. You know, they're not with you anymore, or maybe you don't even have any kids. Because let me tell you what I did. My very first property that I was able to afford to buy and flip, and I'm going to use the term flip because that's what people seem to think it is, but a flip is actually simultaneous closings, and we won't get into all of that, but that is what a true flip is. It's just boom boom in the title. So but we're not going to talk about that. I'm going to use the word flip for the purpose of buy and then sell. You bought a property in order to sell it down the road. So what I did, and my husband together, what we did was we bought the property with the intention of staying on the property for 2 years. The kids were out of school. We didn't have to worry about that. So we would buy a property that, and this is key, needed a lot of work, because my husband's really, really handy, needed a lot of work, but not unlivable, because it has to be a property that you are willing to live in. So maybe the carpet is horrible. Maybe every room needs paint. Maybe the kitchen is horrifying. Maybe the bathrooms aren't so fabulous. Maybe there's 3 bathrooms, but only 1 is usable. You're going to have to put up with some pain if you want to do this. So you have to have enough time to work another job. Now, at the time, my other job was real estate, you know, listing and selling and working with buyers and sellers. My husband actually had another job. So what he would have to do is come home to our rehab where we were living and work on it until, you know, he was ready to fall asleep and start it all over again. So we did that, and we would take this under market home that needed a lot of work but was livable, and at a little over 2 years, we would go ahead and sell. And then we would take, and the reason for the 2 years is taxation. So that's a whole nother video, but 2 years was the taxation mark. So we would wait till that threshold was crossed, and then we would sell it. And we would always target, in the beginning, we were happy to make $15,000, $20,000. But as we did 1, and then we did 2, and by the time we were on to our 3rd, $15,000 to $20,000 wasn't worth it. We had to make at least $50,000. So what would happen was, I, as the real estate agent, and like I said, it either has to be you or it has to be somebody you really trust, would run numbers, calculate numbers, build in hold time. That's one thing you never see on those shows, like on HGTV or any of those shows you probably have seen. They never show you hold time. And that really makes a difference, because that cuts into what your ultimate profit is. So we would factor that in. I would take my best guess of where I thought it should lie. I would run the numbers, and then my husband would figure out, okay, flooring and lighting and all of the things you don't think about, you know, landscaping and everything that we had to do. And then we would factor back in all the cost of selling. I didn't pay myself a commission, of course, but we had to pay out a buyer's agent, and then all the fees. We always would get an estimated net sheet, which is a breakdown of an estimate. If you tell a title company, I think I can sell this house for $600,000, they can do an estimated net sheet of what your bottom number will be with all of the money coming and going out. So we would do that, and then we would stick as close to that as possible. And there was 1 year that we moved 3 times in 1 year. Now you might say, wait a minute, Barrett, you said hold for 2 years. Well, this is what we ended up doing. After about the 3rd or 4th year of doing this, we realized that if we get a really good accountant, he will be able to tell us how to do this to where we could take what the hit's gonna be if we sell at X, and we could back that out and kind of call that a cost. So work that into the numbers that I was using when I was taking, you know, the floors and all of the other things, the kitchen, the bathroom. Also factor in what that hit was going to be if we decided to sell sooner than that 2-year mark. So that's what we started to do. I want to say that was within 5 years of doing it. We started saying we're not going to hold for 2 years because we didn't have to, because we would just take it as what the hit was. And of course we incorporated, you know, we got some really good advice as we started to make money. The other thing is, if you can be disciplined enough to not take that, let's say you make $100,000 and that's the first time that you've made that kind of money in one big lump sum, and that is your net to you. If you can stop yourself from going to buy, you know, your wife the fur coat or yourself the bright yellow Lamborghini, if you can stop yourself from doing that, you will make a whole lot more money. So the key that I have found in doing this is being able to hold yourself back and live beneath your means. So if you keep that snowball rolling, it will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there will come a point where you can say, do I want to buy the absolute dream house that I'm never going to move from? Or am I going to buy, have I just bought stability in life, that I have freedom to do what I want to do? I cannot work if I don't want to work. I can vacation and travel all the time if I want to. Personally, that was the decision I made. At that point, I was over it with real estate. It didn't matter. There was no house that I had to have. To me, what I had to have was that stability. That was the thing that I was kind of chasing after, and that was the thing that was the most valuable for me. So that's my quick little story of how I was able to do it. Maybe something in that resonates with you, and you will be able to do that for yourself as well. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.